Oh, Lulzy. So you still want to play, huh? Alright then, we'll play. First of all, I don't know why you felt the need to address that Microsoft thing in the comments of the debate video like it was some big revelation. Seeing as how if you would have read that video's description, you would have found that I already addressed and admitted to it, as well as my other major error in that debate. Now, for objectivity's sake, let's really analyze those two errors of mine and see if they're really worth you holding on to like grim death in order to attempt to claim victory while completely disregarding your fuck-ups in the same debate, which we'll get to later. Let's start with that Microsoft thing. I had said in the debate, in response to you asking if I supported Microsoft, that I would want to boycott Microsoft due to their shitty policies regarding the Xbox 360 and the Xbox One, which you retorted with the fact that I'm actually supporting Microsoft by using Skype because they get ad revenue for it. Yes, that was a fuck up on my part, and I pretty much have no choice but to take the L on that one. In fact, my ignorant ass didn't even know Skype and Microsoft were related at the time. However, what makes all the difference is what kind of L it truly is. The only real victory you can claim as far as that goes is getting me to backtrack and clarify that I was speaking more towards the console side of the company. Because like your own buddy BBC has stated, the PC is a free market, which means there are rules and regulations that protect the user that Microsoft has to abide by, which means they can't get away with some of the shit they do on their consoles on the PC side of things. That's probably why I don't own a single Microsoft console, nor do I plan to, thus not supporting that part of their company like I clarified. In fact, those regulations are the only things truly keeping me from initiating a full-on Microsoft boycott. Even though my lifestyle regarding my PC usage would suffer somewhat, there is a way around it, which I'll explain when I address the latest retarded-ass comment you left on my channel. As far as all this other stuff that you're pulling out of your ass regarding some sort of hypocrisy on my part, none of it works. Now granted, if I did actually start a boycott of Microsoft, then sure, I would be guilty of directly supporting them by using Skype, among other computer-related things, thus rendering my own boycott pretty useless, as well as rendering me as a hypocrite. In fact, I even said in the debate that perhaps the reason why I don't actually boycott them is because my lifestyle would suffer too greatly for it, even though in hindsight it really wouldn't. And that's what destroys your whole hypocrite argument and shows that semantics and choice of words truly does matter. I had said that they would be on the top of my list to boycott, but did I ever actually say I was boycotting them? Nope, sure didn't. What that strategic choice of words implied is that I would like/want to boycott Microsoft. I'd like/want to do a lot of things. I want to become a successful and revered filmmaker. Is that ever going to happen at my current pace of not doing anything to make that happen? Not very likely. I'd like to inflict physical pain beyond imagination upon many worthless people I've encountered in my life. Am I ever going to do that? Nope, because I'd go to prison for it. Until I actually officially call for a boycott of Microsoft as a whole, your hypocrisy allegation holds no water whatsoever. What I want you to do is look through any of my videos and try to find any instance where I actually officially called for a boycott of anything. See, that's another thing your white knight infected mind didn't consider. Unlike your good buddy BBC, I haven't made a single video declaring my intention to boycott any company, let alone Microsoft. Not only that, I sure as hell didn't make a video calling for a boycott of a company, then just a couple months later become employed with that company while acting like my initial boycott was still intact. Last time I checked, a hypocrite is somebody that says one thing and does the opposite. But the problem is, you didn't pay close enough attention to what I actually said. Now, if I had said that Microsoft were on the top of my list of companies that I was boycotting, or that I didn't support any part of the company, you'd have every right and ground to stand on to call me a hypocrite. But that's not at all what I said, is it? Go back and listen to that debate recording again. I said clear as day they would be on the top of my list to boycott, as in possible in the future to do so based on a want/desire. And as I already said, I want/desire a lot of things that aren't going to come to pass. Hell, I don't even know why you're claiming this supposed victory, because like I stated before, I had even said that I wasn't boycotting them because of perceived lifestyle reasons, specifically my extensive use of PCs and how I use them, in addition to the fact that I clarified that I didn't support Microsoft's console business, which is true because I don't own a single Xbox console. I've never even called for people to boycott Microsoft's consoles, let alone the company itself. Until I actually buy an Xbox, Xbox 360, and or Xbox One, paid for Xbox Live, or use Skype after calling for a full-on boycott of the company as a whole, your hypocrisy argument will remain worthless. So now that I've destroyed that, all you're left with is a simple stumble/backtrack, which doesn't really add anything to your overall case of attempting to defend BBC at all. But regardless, it's still an L on my part for the simple reason that I had to backtrack at all when I could have clarified my overall stance earlier in the debate. However, if you still want to hold on to that supposed spun hypocrisy victory of yours to the point of repeatedly beating your head against a wall for all eternity, you go right ahead and knock yourself out. Literally. Moving on to the second mistake on my part, I had said that in order for a boycott to be effective, you would need to, as I put it, go hard or go home. To which you replied with the prospect of not supporting partner companies, distributors, and even people with certain religious preferences of all things, in order for it to be a full-on boycott, and why I wasn't addressing these things. While I'm still trying to wrap my head around that stupid-ass, non-sequitur religious preference remark, at that time, I claimed it as a mistake on my part for not thinking deeply enough about those elements, and once again not clarifying what I meant by my all-or-nothing interpretation of boycotting. But then I did think about it more deeply, and then I realized that argument makes no sense at all. That would be like me giving up any and all chicken products because I was boycotting KFC, or giving up all gaming and gaming-related things because I was boycotting Capcom, or the best analogy comparison of them all, giving up watching and being a fan of BBC because he was employed with EA, a company I would be boycotting. Why should other straight and narrow companies have to suffer for being associated with a shitty one? Like with what you said about Pizza Hut because they were partnered with the NFL, who were in turn partnered with EA. How does EA see any of the money I give to Pizza Hut? Their deal is with the NFL, not EA. The sponsorship money and whatnot funnels between each other. It's not like EA gets any sort of cut of that because they have a completely separate, unrelated deal with the NFL. And even if you can prove a connection between those transactions and render that argument of mine worthless, it's not like it matters anyway, because all I have to do to render your overall argument moot is mention one single company: Capcom. Capcom has distributors that more than likely have deals with other good unrelated companies. They have partnerships, arguably more than EA does. Yet last time I checked, they're still in financial dire straits because of their shitty company policies and practices, despite all these partnerships and having distribution. Why? Because the consumers aren't supporting their terrible practices by not directly supporting the company. They aren't buying Capcom's products, and I may have even said this in the debate itself, but I'd also be willing to bet these same people aren't employed with them either. So now that I've addressed that, allow me to clarify my go hard or go home stance of boycotting. When I say to cease relations with these companies, I'm speaking in terms of direct relations. Don't support them by not buying their shit or directly benefiting them in any way, such as becoming employed with them. Capcom is case in point that this method of boycotting is effective, because even with all these other company partnerships that could very well indirectly support them, it doesn't make much difference, because they're still hemorrhaging money and enduring near crippling employee layoffs. Despite all of this, I'm still going to take that L. However, this time I'm taking the L for not only not clarifying my stance sooner, but also going along with your nonsense and not calling bullshit on your stupid argument to begin with. So if you want to get technical, that's 3 overall mistakes I made. Again, even though these were mistakes on my part, they provide 0 substantial help towards your case of exonerating BBC. All these arguments of yours were piss-poor, white knight edition deflection tactics. How you tried to defend BBC would be like if the lawyer of Otis Toole tried to defend his client of murdering at least 6 people by calling attention to the fact that his frequent accomplice Henry Lee Lucas murdered at least 11 people. Or better yet, it's like when Life in a Tent tried to weasel his way out of his own bullshit during the legendary ownage debate with BBC by saying, well, all these people are doing the same thing, so why are you singling me out? However, even in that sense, your tactics were poor and were designed to give cushioning damage control towards BBC's factual hypocrisy without exonerating him of any guilt in the slightest bit, as well as dismiss your own fuck-ups in that debate. Speaking of those, let's go over them, shall we? Because unlike me owning up to my mistakes, you've yet to own up to your irrefutable, factual fuck-ups. I already mentioned your silly-ass religious preference remark, and I feel no further comment is necessary on that, because the stupidity of it speaks for itself. So I'll move on to your repeated insistence of trying to say I was comparing BBC's tech support job as being the same as the CEO of the company, when I not only repeatedly destroyed that point long before we even debated, I did so in the debate itself. Yet you kept foolishly clinging to that, not even hearing a single thing I said. I additionally addressed this in my Great Exposure Returns video, so let's roll that footage. Now to Lulzy himself. I saw that little part you added to your debate video title. I'm pretty sure I specified on multiple occasions in the debate that a customer support agent was not equivalent to the company's CEO. What I did say, though, was that every worker of the company, including a tech support agent, was an enabler of the CEO and or the company board, as well as their fucked up policies. And part of why I said that is because if the workers don't adhere to said policies, they're not going to have their jobs for very long. Thus, those employed with the company, even those in tech support, are supporting the company by keeping it running with their labor, as well as carrying out those policies that those in power come up with. Now, if you can find an instance where I directly said tech support agents or any other worker of the company was exactly like the CEO in that context, I'll concede. But I'm pretty sure you're not going to find it. That request still stands, by the way. Find any part of that debate where I said that tech support was like the CEO and or the board of directors. Unlike the CEO and or board of directors, tech support agents don't actually make the policies, but they do support them by the very nature of it being their job due to being employed with the company that made said policies. And I said that repeatedly in the debate. But rather than actually listening to what I said, you wanted to talk in dismissive, idiotic circles. You also wouldn't even admit what the very purpose of technical support even is, other than the fact that it's a legal requirement for the company to have. So just like in the debate itself, I'm going to forcefully spoon feed it to you right now. The overall purpose of technical support is customer satisfaction. If customers are having problems with the product or service they purchased from the company, what do? They call the tech support department for said company to get these issues fixed. Now, what's the purpose of customer satisfaction? To increase or outright ensure the chances that said paying customers will continue to be paying customers. If BBC really didn't want people to continue to support the company's shitty business practices, he wouldn't have taken any job with them, let alone one that helps them keep the money flowing in. Now, having said that, let me ask you this. How is BBC not supporting EA's business practices to the point of calling for a boycott by not only being employed with them and helping them continue to function at the same efficient pace that allowed them to create the shitty business practices to begin with, but also being employed in an area of the company designed to keep their already loyal customer base, who obviously either didn't care or are ignorant of EA's terrible business practices, then fuck them over. That completely destroys any notion of boycotting, no matter how you slice it or what kind of damage controlling spin you put on it. Then once you've stumbled through trying to answer that, let me bring up another important point. What if BBC took the opinions he expressed in his anti-EA videos to work with them? What if he told several customers on the phone about why they should no longer support EA? Considering those calls are monitored/recorded, what do you think would happen if his bosses heard that? What do you think would happen if they stumbled upon his anti-EA videos themselves? I'll tell you exactly what would have happened. His ass would have been fired in an instant. He can think anything he wants regarding those terrible policies, but it was his job to comply with the company's policies. So he wasn't changing a damn thing that he wanted to when he told people to boycott them. Now we come to the most hilarious point you brought up in the debate after I completely decimated most of your other nonsensical points. You actually tried to sell me on the notion that BBC was only employed with EA to expose them from the inside in some kind of corporate espionage plot. Just like with how you titled your debate upload, I addressed this as well in my Great Exposure Returns video. So let's roll that footage. However, I'll go ahead and play your little game. Only I'm going to play it better than you because unlike how you titled your video, I'm going to add a little something to the title of mine that's based on something you actually said. Whether or not you were serious in saying it doesn't really matter. Although I'm likely to believe you were serious because I had already countered a good lot of what you said to the point that trying to sell me on the notion that BBC was employed with EA in some elaborate espionage plot to expose EA from the inside with no actual recorded proof was all you could come up with to defend him. And even if you weren't serious, you derailed the debate and wasted time in even bringing that up. So either way, you're exposed on that one, son. Didn't you stop and think about why I titled my debate upload video the way I did? It was to ridicule something you actually said, rather than what you thought I was implying with the things I said, even though I had already clarified it numerous times. So, I guess if Jamin is solid BBC, I guess that makes you LulzyCon. Seriously though, why did you even bother bringing that up to begin with? Did you really expect me to believe that without presenting any sort of evidence? And even if you weren't serious, why did you even bring it up and waste my time with that nonsense rather than trying to make an actual legit point? My theory is that since I shot down most of your flimsy defenses that I had already shot down due to dealing with the rest of the BBC fanboy hive mind, you were trying to grasp at any little thing you could get your hands on to try to turn the non-existent tables on me to continue to white knight your bestest buddy in the whole wide world. Now that I've brought your fuck-ups to light, rendering any arguments of certain white knighters of yours useless, let's go ahead and address the latest comments you left on my video and wrap this thing up in a nice and tight, beautiful bow. Also, there are different ways to boycott a company. You autistically stuck to a textbook definition and ignored the context BBC was talking about. No fucking shit there are different ways to boycott a company. All that statement does is support my argument. Because most of the BBC fanboys, as well as BBC himself, seem to think that boycotting the money side of things was the only way to go. The thing is, I know exactly where you're going with this statement. And just like most of the other shit you said in the debate, I've already fucking countered it before the debate even took place. You're going to try to say the same stupid shit that someone in existence tried to say with the "or" in the definition argument. And I present the same thing to you that I presented to him. How is it possible to cease a relation and support of a company one way, but then turn right around and engage in another relation with said company that supports them just as much and renders your initial ceased relation and support utterly useless? Until you can answer that, and several of the other questions I asked you, stick with your shitty see-through deflection tactics. Let me tell you as clear as possible, even a 5-year-old would understand this. BBC was saying boycott their bad business practices. Now, can you show me where BBC is a hypocrite by supporting their bad business practices? I don't see him going out to support their terrible DLC and copy and paste glitch-fest games. Lulzy, how do you boycott a company's bad business practices? By boycotting the company that created said practices. You don't cure a disease by going after the symptoms. But I guess by your logic, all you need to beat cancer is a fucking Band-Aid. And didn't you just say that there's different ways to boycott a company, i.e. not supporting their business practices? Great job at inadvertently countering yourself. Also, you are the hypocrite. You're the one that wants to go by the textbook definition, yet you don't follow through because are still here. If you want to go by the textbook definition, then you can't do anything because everything is connected. Just like when you supported Microsoft during our debate via Skype ad revenue. LOL. Like I already said earlier, even with all these connections, look at Capcom. By your logic, they shouldn't be in the situation they're in. So it's still possible to boycott them, even if you support any company they're partnered with. Also, find where I said that I was or am currently boycotting Microsoft. Yeah, exactly. All of your points were destroyed in our debate, but your mind is too far gone to realize it. That's fucking capital stuff coming from the guy that tried to repeatedly equate tech support agents with CEOs, denying what the true purpose of tech support is, and even trying to say BBC working for EA was part of a plot to expose them from the inside. Your only option is to go Amish. Get off the internet and modern society forever, then you won't be a hypocrite. Really? I'm pretty sure I just countered this by showing that you can boycott a company while still supporting other companies they're partnered with. Even with that, I'm going to show you how I could continue with doing what I do regarding the internet using a hypothetical boycott of Microsoft as the example. I could still use a PC and the internet while still boycotting them and giving very little, if any, support to companies they're partnered with. All I would have to do is build my own PC, install a Linux operating system, and refrain from buying any and all Microsoft software. And as far as their connection to automobiles is concerned, ride a fucking bike. Problem solved. Exposed again? LOL. When did you expose me the first time? The mistakes you made in the debate and continue to make with your idiotic comments and damage-controlling deflection tactics make my mistakes insignificant in the grand scheme of things. I'm gonna like and fave this video so everyone can see this video and laugh with us. Oh no! Not that! Anything but that! Anything but making me more relevant and potentially giving me some new views, subs, and channel activity. Not that I care about any of those things anyway, seeing as how I would continue doing what I do regardless. But the only joke to be found in that is on you and any other dipshit fanboy willing to swallow your bullshit. Because just like with BBC uploading my videos to his Blackbuster Files account, all you're doing is helping me document your own downfall. It almost seems like you're taking basic courses at the Black Baron's School of Perceived Ownage. And who's this everyone you speak of? Probably a snippet of a fraction of a percentage of your 268 subs that actually give an iota of a fuck? Yeah, that's really gonna affect me. But hey, I'll still willingly accept your inadvertent shout out. I've already got 31 subs, and I've done pretty much zero promotion for my channel. In fact, some of these very subs are from BBC fanboys whose minds I've effectively owned. Speaking of that, just to sidetrack, why are some of you fanboys subbed to me anyway? You know all I'm going to say and do is stuff that will offend your little fanboy sensibilities, so why are you in essence supporting me? Or maybe you're subbed to me because you want to keep tabs on me to see what I'll say and or do next. And yet, I'm the one with no life? Or maybe it's because you all secretly love my stuff and deep down inside know that I've been factually right regarding the things I've said about your all-encompassing Lord and Savior BBC, as well as other subjects in my other videos. Either way, keep it up. As for you, Lulzy, my advice to you is that you should stay in your own lane of expertise, which is owning Nintendo and console fanboys. But by all means, if you want to keep on touching that hot stove of factual destruction and burning yourself, you go right ahead, buddy boy. To put it in terms I know you'll understand, consider thyself completely and thoroughly
exposed. 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 Fucking exposed. Exposed-io.
Thanks for exposing yourself, clown.
Exposed.
The Great Exposer has spoken.